Hey badminton community, it's Jeff and Henry from Volant and the Badminton Podcast. We're here today to review two rackets, the Yonex Astrox 100 ZX
and the Yonex Astrox 100 ZZ. We're doing this in partnership with Badminton Click, so if you want to pick up either of these rackets, then please click the link below to go to their website. Both the Yonex 100 ZZ and ZX were tested at the 4U or 83 gram version with a G5 or smallest grip size, strung with Yonex Nano G98 at 28 pounds. So here's what you need to know about the 100 ZZ. It is a rotational and extra stiff racket, has an improved rotational generator system which makes the racket feel less heavy when stationary, has an enlarged sweet spot due to its new squarish frame shape. It has a hyper slim shaft, the slimmest in Yonex history for better aerodynamics. It has a new improved cap for better comfort to rest your thumb, and it's made in Japan. And in terms of the Astrox 100 ZX, it is also a rotational and extra stiff racket with an improved rotational generator system. It has an enlarged sweet spot due to its new squarish frame shape, not quite as boxy as the ZZ. It has a hyper slim shaft as well, the new improved cap, with its shaft made in Japan but the racket made in Taiwan. So Jeff, let's kick it off with the 100 ZZ. What do you like about it?
Look Henry, I like the fact that it's got a really soft feel, so I feel I've got lots of control and it feels like the shaft is quite flexible, which just gives me that soft, gentle feeling when I strike the shuttle.
Yeah, cool.
What about you? What do you like about it?
Well, I think it's a really easy to maneuver racket and it's very good for handling and it's also quite forgiving in itself as well. So how about what you don't like about this racket, Jeff?
Look Henry, the rackets I usually use are a little bit more head heavy. So what I find is this racket's a little bit more difficult to generate power overhead and from drives. How about you?
Well, for me, I have a preference for lighter rackets. And even though this is sort of an even balance racket for me, I still think that it could use a little bit less weight. But yeah, that's just me nitpicking. Otherwise, it's quite a good racket.
Now Henry, moving on to the 100 ZX, what did you like about this racket?
Jeff, when you're in position and prepared for the shot, you can actually generate a lot of power with this racket and produce some really clean and crisp shots. How about you? What do you like about this racket?
Look, I like the way it feels when you swing it through the air. It's really swift. And also the momentum of the swing when you actually swing it, it actually carries through the shuttle. So it's really good for generating power, such as through shots like a defensive lift from a smash. It's easier to get the shuttle back over to the rear court, and that's what I really like about it. But Henry, what didn't you like so much about this particular racket?
Well, with this particular racket, I think it is a very stiff racket, similar to the Astrox 99, so it is a bit unforgiving in that sense. And for me personally, I'm not that fast to react, so on those shorter swings shots like drives, I find it hard to get there fast enough, be in position, so that I can generate enough power, even though it is a quite powerful racket. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, look, it's a bit opposite to the ZZ for me. It feels a lot harder on the strings and on the racket. So the feeling and the touch isn't quite there as much for me. So that's probably a disadvantage in my opinion. And look, also the fact that it is head heavy, even though the momentum of the swing is good, but if it's start and stop and you have to react and maneuver the head from side to side, backhand to forehand really quickly, I find it's a little bit slower.
So let's move into ratings, starting off with the Yonex Astrox 100 ZZ. Jeff, what do you think of handling and feeling for this racket?
Look, I'm going to rate it an 8 out of 10. I do like the feeling of the racket through the air. It is nice and swift and it does feel like it moves through the air really nicely. How about yourself?
I completely agree, but I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Again, for the same reasons, I do really enjoy the feeling of this racket compared to the Astrox ZX.
Look, yeah, and for the ZX, in terms of feeling and handling, what are you going to rate it out of 10?
I'd probably give it a 7, just because it is a bit heavier than I would like, and when I do swing it around, I feel like I'm carried with the racket, unfortunately, maybe because I'm quite slim. How about you, Jeff?
Look, I'm also going to give it an 8, just as I did for the ZZ. And the reason is I do like how the momentum of the head does carry you through the swing, and through the air it does still feel quite nice there.
And what do you think about, if we move on to control, what do you think about control for this particular racket?
Look, I love this racket for control, Henry. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because of the soft feel. I'm a firm believer, and I really do like the fact that the shuttle feels soft on the racket, and it makes me feel like I'm in control of each and every shot.
I feel the exact same way, Jeff. Whenever I was playing shots with this racket, it was just so nice bouncing off of the racket when the shuttle contacts. It's just so completely different. It's almost polar opposite to the ZX.
Yeah, look, for the ZX, I've given this a rating of 7 out of 10 in terms of the control, and that's because it's got a very hard feel and a stiff shaft, so I feel that it's a bit more rigid when I actually hit the shuttle.
Yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10 as well. The control is not bad. It's just a different feeling that comes with that, and I find it a bit harder to basically create the shots that I want to on court.
Yeah. Now, when we move on to power, so being able to generate power, how would you rate the ZZ?
I'd actually give this an 8.5 out of 10. I know we have differing opinions on this one. I feel like I can get into position a lot easier and quicker with this racket, so I find it easier to be able to play my shot and just generate power in that sense. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, look, because it is a little bit less head heavy, as I said before, I usually use more head heavy racket. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It's not that I can't generate power from it, it's just a little bit more difficult to generate power. Compared to the ZX, even though it has a harder feel and a stiffer shaft, I'm rating this 8.5 out of 10 in terms of generating power, because I do feel it's easier to generate power. But like you said, I really think it depends on whether or not you're in the right position to start off with.
Yeah, I think the same thing for me. I give it an 8.5 out of 10 for power, the ZX. The reason why is that it is very easy to generate power because of the momentum of the swing with that particular racket. But as I said, with the shorter swings, I find it actually a little bit more difficult to generate power with that racket compared to this racket. So moving on to speed. What do you think of the speed of this particular racket, the ZZ?
With the ZZ, because it is a little bit lighter in the head, I feel the speed's really good. So I'm able to change grip really easily, forehand, backhand, in defense. So I'm giving that a 9 out of 10 in terms of the head speed and my ability to maneuver the head around. Yeah. How about you?
I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. The reason why I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10, it is a very fast racket in itself, but more recently we've tried a practice with the Nano Flare 800, and I found that to be comparatively a bit more faster. So in terms of scaling compared to the different rackets and being objective, I would give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's still a very fast racket, but not quite to the level of the Nano Flare 800 that we recently reviewed.
And look, with the ZX here, because of that head heaviness, the maneuverability is a little bit slower. So I'm rating this 7 out of 10 in terms of speed and the ability to change directions.
Yeah, I'd give it a 7 out of 10 as well. For those same challenges that I had with that racket, I'm not that responsive or fast to react. So picking up that racket from a lower position compared to Jeff, it is a bit more of a challenge for me. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for that one.
Yeah. And Henry, how about the way that they look? So aesthetics wise, the paint job, look, they're very, very similar. There is one subtle difference. How do you rate this in terms of how the racket looks?
Yeah, in terms of that difference between the two, the ZZ actually has a darker blue along its shaft. Maybe you can see it just there. I have a preference for dark blue over a light blue, so I give this racket an 8.5 out of 10. I do actually quite like it, although it's asymmetrical in its color pattern. I still think it's a very nice looking racket.
I'm going to give that an 8.5 out of 10 as well. And while we're on the topic, because this is a bit lighter, I also do prefer like the darker color around the shaft here where it says the actual racket name. So I'm going to give this a 8 out of 10. So I still think it looks really nice, but I think that this is slightly better, and that's the ZZ that I like better.
Yeah, for the same reason, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. And just as a correction, it's actually along the frame of the racket that it's darker blue and lighter blue there as well.
Yeah. Henry, now moving on to the type of player who would like to use this racket or who the racket's most suited for, what type of player would that be?
Look, I think this racket is suitable for your front court players, your neutral or defensive players when it comes to doubles, and when it comes to singles, again, sort of the counter-attacking player. But I think it's all-round, like it's an all-round racket that's suitable for, I guess, singles, doubles, and mixed and all types of players if this is the right type of racket for you. How about for your 100 ZX, Jeff?
Look, the ZX is a little bit different to that. I completely agree with the ZZ because I feel that because it's not so head heavy, it's not for someone that's a full out attacking player. There's no reason why I can't attack really well with this racket, but I feel like you said, it's gonna be more counter attacks, angles, chops, fast half smashes, whereas I feel that this racket's more for the attacking player. So say someone who's playing in the rear court, offensive doubles rear court player who's always cranking down these huge smashes. And I'd also say someone who's playing singles as well, who has a more attacking game style. So someone who likes a spin net, jump smash, and that's the mainstay of their points and how they win their actual points. So I do think that this is probably a little bit more of an advanced racket because it's a little bit less forgiving, a little bit harder to move the head around, a bit heavier. But for the more advanced player and the attacking player, I think this is a winner. So Henry, both of these rackets, the Astrox 100 ZX and the ZZ, they both have so many great features about them. But which racket do you choose?
Yeah. If you want to have great control and a soft feeling when you strike the shuttle, you want to have easy maneuverability, you're great at the front court, and you want to have defensive play, then this is a racket that you need to consider, the Astrox 100 ZZ.
Now for the ZX though, if you're the kind of player who wants to generate power easily, who's attacking, especially a rear court doubles player, and you like more of a stiff and hard feel of the shuttle onto the racket when you strike the shuttle, then you really do need to consider the ZX. So that's it from us. Now if you're considering taking one of these bad boys home with you, remember to click the link below to get to the Badminton Click website.
And if you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, then please click the like and subscribe button for more. And if you want to follow us on our journey, you can follow us via Volantwear, VOLANTWEAR, on all our social media channels, as well as on our website, www.volantwear.com. And don't forget the Badminton podcast as well.
Cheers.